You're up.
Close your eyes. And open your eyes. So good evening and welcome to the Prosperity Club. As you can see, we've got an additional member. So we've come to the end of the year. We've all been spending the year exploring ourselves, exploring consciousness, making the changes that we want to make, and we've arrived at Christmas. Christmas being a time of celebration. It's the celebration really of the birth of Jesus. But the thing to know is it's really a celebration of the arrival of the Christ consciousness. And that consciousness exists in all of us. So it's not in that one child. And yet we tend to put our attention on it being that one individual that lived 2,000 years ago, rather than recognizing that there's now the potential in each of us to raise our consciousness to that level. So for me, that's where we should be looking, is the acknowledgement of that within ourselves. I was hearing tonight that science has found the God principle, or something like that. And what they'll find is it's in us. There is nothing out there. There is nothing that is anything but a reflection of the state of consciousness of ourself. So we are the captain of the universe. We're the captain of our own universe, and this is why the way we perceive things and the way we live things is the way it is for us. There is no it's like this. There's no good and bad. There's no right and wrong, except that we see it that way. And if we look at the world, and if we look at our own lives, where we see right or wrong or good or bad or abundance or scarcity, it's in our own perception. It actually doesn't exist if you look at it. You see, even take money. It's just blips on a computer. What makes that more or less? Except that someone says so. So now we get financial crisis, which the universe accepts because everybody in it accepts it. Yet it isn't really so. It is simply perception. It is simply what we see. So anyway, we've come to the end of the year and we need to celebrate our journey, because one aspect we can look at is that our life is a journey back home to that Christ consciousness, God consciousness, immortal consciousness. The name isn't it, it's the state of consciousness that we all are. and to watch the thoughts that say it's otherwise. So the only thing we can actually change is our thinking. We are who we are. We're trillions of cells of consciousness. That is the physical being. There's nothing we can do about that. But we can watch our thinking, because our thinking is what controls the rest of our life. So what do we think? What is our perception of? What do we believe about ourselves? What is it we've accepted somewhere along the way that we're bad, we're not good enough, that no one wants me, I'm unlovable? These sort of thoughts are what we live in. And there's the surface thoughts, and then there's the subconscious thoughts. And the subconscious thoughts are a much bigger amount of money, much bigger amount of area in consciousness than the surface. So these are the ones that are really running us. The ones at the surface, the ones we're aware of every day. But the ones that are in the subconscious, we're not so knowledgeable about, and yet they're running our life. And then when we say, well, it never works for me, I always get the bad deal, I never get the lover I want, I never get the job I want, the money I want, my life isn't as good as other lives. That's when you watch that thought. Is it true? Or is it just a thought that I've been living with? So these thoughts are that which are controlling us. These are the thoughts we need to change. So we bring them up on a daily basis. We find ourselves saying something, thinking something, saying something about someone else, or agreeing with what someone else says. So if I say, oh, I never have good luck, that's me saying it. If I say, you always have the luck, then I'm also saying it. If you say, it's a difficult world and we never get what we want, and I go, yes, you're quite right, I'm agreeing with it. So all those three are telling me that I have a thought saying I can't have what I want. Now if we take that thought, I can't have what I want, and just track it and say, well, where did that come from? Where did I decide to have that thought? And 9 times out of 10 it goes straight back to childhood, because the mind is full by the time we're 8. So it takes us back to childhood, and we go, oh, that was mother, that was father, saying, well, you can't have what you want in life, or you've got to struggle to make ends meet in life. Or I see my parents and I see that they're struggling, and I believe that that's what you have to do. Or that they live in scarcity, and that therefore the world is about scarcity. So I've been believing that ever since, and living as if it's true. So we can take that idea, whether it's to do with money, whether it's to do with relationships, whether it's to do with careers, whether it's to do with health, whether it's to do with our creative expression, like, well, I'm not creative. Well, there's a thought. Who said you're not creative? Well, I did, because I can't draw pictures like my friends, or I can't write music like my friends, or I can't do something else like my friends. But that doesn't mean I'm not creative. It just means maybe painting isn't my thing, or music isn't my thing, but I might be incredibly creative in some other area of life. Might be a creative chef, or I might be creative in relationships. So we're all creative. That is our natural state. To find that creativity and to open ourselves to it. So we are creative. We are loving, unless we have thoughts that say we're not. And that we're lovable, unless we have thoughts that say we're not. And we're abundant, unless we have thoughts that say we're not. Our natural state is abundance. There is plenty for us. But if we live in, there's not enough for me, I can't make ends meet, then that's the reality we're going to experience. We will experience our thoughts in the physical world. So, by watching to see what it is that I think, I will know what my life will be like. And it'll continue to be that way, year after year, unless I change it. The Jesuits say, give me a child until he's 8 years old, and you can have the rest. This is because by the time a child is 8, they can program the child in the Jesuit way of thinking. But take any other person, by the time they're 8, their mind is pretty much full, and every other thought would be a repetition of one of those thoughts. So no new thoughts. Just the same thought, repeating, repeating, repeating. This is why in most people's cases, by the time they're 8, you know what their life's going to be like. You can actually tell them, because of the thoughts you have, your life will turn out this way. Unless you learn to challenge your thinking. So the journey is inwards, not outwards. The journey is into the self, into the mind, into the cells. By coming into the mind and asking the question, is that true? And coming into the cells and feeling the feelings, so that we can take those feelings and transform them into good feelings. Remember, the body only has 2 feelings, good feelings, bad feelings. So we want to transform the bad feelings into comfortable feelings or good feelings. So if I'm feeling anger or fear or sadness, then I want to transform that back to peace, love, ease. If I'm feeling fear around money, then again I need to transform that feeling by bathing the feeling with consciousness, questioning the thought, and turning it into a feeling of prosperity. So what does prosperous feel like? Just feel for a moment. What is prosperous? What does abundant feel like? Notice it's a feeling. It's an energy in the body. The universe reflects the energy in the body. So if you've got an abundant feeling, then you are inviting abundance. The same if you want love. If you're feeling unloved and miserable and downhearted, then there's no likelihood that anything's going to come from the outside that's any use to you. So if we can again realize that we're a love being and return that feeling to love so you feel love, best way in meditation, or bringing that energy into the heart area to feel the love feeling. And in the love feeling, you're attracting love, because life is a mirror. It will give you back whatever you're thinking and feeling. So it's our job to work within our body and our life to bring the changes that we seek. And then life becomes a game to play. See, the real game is to return to the divine state, to come home, to let go all of the thoughts and things hanging on to us that are keeping us from being a love being. And the other game is to have the life you want, is to play. What would I like? See if I can pull it off. I'd like one of these, I'd like one of those. It's a game. We learn to play it, and we learn to play it better and better. Just like anybody who plays a game, you just get better at it. So it's no good saying, well, I've tried it once, it didn't work. Well, okay. Practice a bit more. Practice until you can just bring to mind that which you want, and you can hold it until it begins to manifest. You become better at it because you also have a list of successes. You can say, well, look, I know I can do these things because I've got a list of successes. Now I'm going for a really big one. And little things, we can all do. But if it's one that's beyond your thinking, that says I can do this, then obviously it's a bigger game. But that's the fun, to keep raising the game. If you can do it at this level, can you do it at that level? Not because it makes you a better person, not because of anything other than, since you're here and life is a game and a party, why not join the party, play the game? There's plenty of room for everybody to be and do what you want to be and do. You don't have to take someone else's. I don't need to take your toys. I can have my own. I don't need to take your partner. I have my own. So there's plenty of room for everybody to have exactly what they want. And this would be the completion of the game. How did you do? Now we can look from Christmas back over the year. So the question is always, how did you do? Did you manage to heal and change some of your thoughts? Did you manage to create some of the things that you want? Are you having a better time? In other words, have you surrendered some of this fear and struggle of life, and now you're beginning to experience the joy of life, that every day becomes an adventure, that life becomes an adventure, not a problem? Is this beginning to change, or have we still got some way to go with that? Now it comes and goes. Sometimes you go, yeah, life's a real ball, I'm having a great time. Whap. Then something turns up and you have to start again, but you're actually starting again at a different level because you've dealt with it to there and something comes here, so you deal with it from there. You're never given more to deal with than you can, and everything that comes is either a gift or it's teaching us something so that we are in a better state for next time. So there's nothing that's arbitrary and there's nothing that's bad. Look for the gift in it. How is this a gift? How is this serving me, leading me, taking me to where I really want to go? If we begin to look at life more that way, it's a great adventure. We're invited. It's an adventure of consciousness. We've stepped beyond the daily mental, physical way of doing it, and we're reaching for a way in consciousness which is beyond thinking. It is beyond the mental zone. The mental zone can only produce results to a certain level, as we know. The mind does not solve the universe. It is not the senior faculty. It is a faculty, but it's not the senior one. Consciousness goes way beyond that. Science is beginning to see that in quantum physics and so on, is beginning to find areas that before everybody thought was nonsense, or woo-woo, as that scientist fellow calls it. But now the woo-woo is reality, that it is actually that way. And there's more to go. So there's the adventure. Can we be a part of that adventure, have the life we want, bring to life that which we want, so that we can make it a better party, a better adventure for all of the people around us. So together we can keep expanding into something greater. That would be our celebration of Christmas. That would be our completion to the year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shaun.
Shaun.